So question 21 says refer to figure 2, and the figure below, same idea, doesn't really matter. The wage rate is $600 and total fixed cost is $15,000. How much output does the firm produce when average variable cost is at its minimum? So when average variable cost is at its minimum, this means that, or this occurs at the maximum of the average product curve. So if we look at our average product curve down here, you see that our maximum is right here. And if we go down, you see that that's 30. And we go across, you see that the average and marginal product for this point is 160. So we're using 30 Webers, which means we're using 30 workers, 30 hours, whatever. And 160 is our average product per worker. So 30 times 160 is 4,800, which is E. Next one says, when is average variable cost, what is average variable cost at its minimum? So again, we already know that we're looking at the same point. We care about when our average product curve is at the max. So we know we're at 30 and 160. So 30 units of labor $160 is our output per labor, or our average product of labor. And then it wants to know the average variable cost. So average variable cost is going to be our cost for labor divided by the quantity that we're producing. So in order to do this, we need to know our quantity, and our quantity is going to be labor times our average product of labor. Because if you remember, this is L times Q over L. So those L's cancel, and we're left with Q. So that's going to be 30 times 160, just 4,800. So that's going to be on the bottom. And then we know our wage rate is 600. So our total cost for labor is going to be 600 in wages times 30 units of labor, which is going to give us 18,000. So 18,000 is going to go on top. 18,000 divided by 4,800 gives us 375. 23 says, refer to the following. Ford built 18 vehicles per auto employee in North America last year, where GM could only manage 12. In comparison with Ford, GM had, and our answer is lower average variable cost. And the reason we know that is because average variable cost is defined as variable cost divided by quantity. So for Ford, it's going to be variable cost divided by 18. While for GM, it's going to be variable cost divided by 12. If you divide by a bigger number, your answer will be smaller, so lower average variable cost. 24 says, refer to figure 3, assume labor, the only variable input of a firm, has the product curve shown below. The price of labor is $1,000 per unit, so that's our wage rate. At minimum average variable cost, the firm employs how many units of labor, and it's reached at how many units of output. So we care about minimum average variable cost. Which means we care about the max of our average product curve. So we care about right here. And if we go down, we see that they are using 450 units of labor. And the average product of those 450 units of labor is 2,025. So we're employing 450 units. And then labor times average product of labor will give us our quantity, because that's labor times quantity over labor, which gives us just quantity. So 450 times 25 will give us our quantity. And 450 that's it. I'm trying to make it more complicated. Sorry, guys. Which means that our quantity is 911,250. Which is none of the above. The only answer choice that could have been was this one. So if you're doing a question like this and you only have one answer choice, take the 30 seconds to put it in your calculator and make sure that that's right. The price of labor at its minimum, this is the exact same problem as we literally just did, except now it wants to know the average variable cost is. So we know that we're caring about this point from the previous problem. So we know that our quantity is found by 450 times 2025. We know that our variable cost is going to be found by the number of laborers or the number of workers times our cost, which is 1,000. So our variable cost is going to be 450 times 1,000. And our average variable cost is defined as variable cost divided by quantity. And you could just multiply these out. and then type all of those in to get a decimal point, and that will work fine. But in the event you didn't want to do that, you can also look at it as a really big fraction and see what cancels. These 450s cancel. So we're left with 1,000 over 2025. And then our last one, which apparently did not erase from when I made a typo and had to come back and do it, says refer to figure 3, the only variable, same thing. Except this time it's asking for marginal cost reaches its minimum value at. So we're going to look at our marginal product curve. And we want to look for the max. Our marginal cost reaches its minimum when the marginal product reaches its maximum, which is at 300 units. But then to figure out the output, it's substantially more work to try to use the marginal product curve than the average product curve. So we're going to go down to the average product curve, and when we do that, we see that at the average, they're using 1,800. So 1,800 times 300 will give us our quantity. But we're choosing the 300 because the 300 is at the max of your marginal product curve, which gives us B. As always, if you have any questions, please email me and let me know. I hope you have a great week.